This morning I'm reading Genesis 12, verses 1 through 3, New Revised Version, Standard Version, Updated Edition, the call of Abram. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make you a great name, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed."
That's one of the many scriptures that you'll see in the Confession of Faith after this article. It's a long list there, including this one from Genesis 12. This idea that God enters into relationship with us. Now, we're talking about the first article of the Confession of Faith, and it is God, right? Can we agree that the orders of our articles matter, right? And for me, I have come to the conclusion that it's ridiculous to put anything before God. Especially the Bible, right? For a while, I was seeking a job as a pastor in the non-denominational independent church world, right? I don't know how many people have been in that world, but it is like the Wild West out there. You have no idea what is going on. You know, I'm looking at these completely diverse churches across the country and across the theological spectrum. So one of my first questions was, my litmus test was, what's the first thing on their statement of faith? Because most independent churches have a statement of faith on their website. If it was the Bible, I stopped right there. Just done. Didn't bother. If their name had Bible in it, Bible church, right? I just walk by. Part of it is you got to figure out some ways to sort through all these things. But for me, it came to be this real understanding of, if the Bible is first, how do we not end up just like the Pharisees, right? I mean, they thought the Bible was awesome, and they had it all figured out, and they had all the answers right here in this book. And because they had it all figured out, they couldn't hear what God was up to. Now, through that search process, I really lived into this conviction that God must be the center of our faith. If the Bible or our church, our denomination, or even some confession that we have from years ago or from now is the center, then God can't correct our path. Does that make sense? We just don't have room because this thing is coming before God. God's prophets can't correct us, even the people we walk with in our churches. Like if Jesus came down and he walked among us again, right? We wouldn't really hear it. God's prophets can't correct us. They just can't make a difference because we're too focused on understanding it and figuring it out. And we have this book. So we've already figured the things out and we've carved them in stone. We may feel wise, but I really believe that we will be disconnected from the one who made us if God isn't the ultimate center. So I'm grateful for this priority. I'm grateful that number one is God. It helps me get over my general aversion to all these types of confessional statements because they in themselves become the God. And the way we know whether we're in or out is this confession. I'm also grateful that this article contains a very clear acknowledgement. We humbly recognize that God far surpasses human comprehension and understanding. That's essential in the first article, right? We're going to mess up. This article, though, the way it speaks is different than others have seen. First of all, the humility is weird in a confession because that's generally not the function of a confession, right? It's not about being humble. It is about setting some boundaries, angry boundaries. Often when people want to talk about God, though, they talk about these big concepts, right? They're omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Is there a fourth one, or is that there's the three of them? All-knowing, all-powerful, and always present in all places. But the Mennonites who put this together and affirm this, they lead with a different thing about God. They say, in the first paragraph, you're welcome to read along, we believe that God exists and is pleased with all who draw near by faith. We worship the one holy and loving God who is Father, Son, and Spirit eternally. We believe that God has created all things, visible and invisible, has brought salvation and new life to humanity through Jesus Christ, and continues to sustain the church and all things until the end of the age. Beginning with Abraham and Sarah, or Abram and Sarai, right? It gets so annoying sometimes to work through that name change. God has called forth a people of faith to worship God alone, to witness to the divine purposes for human beings and all of creation, and to love their neighbor as themselves. We have been joined into this people through the faithfulness of Jesus Christ and by confessing him to be Lord and Savior, and as the Holy Spirit has moved us. God is in relationship with us. That's what I hear in that paragraph. God seeks us. God calls a people, and we are joined into God's people. God exists in relationship with us. This is not a distant God. And the thing that's important is that God is with us, not that God is omniscient, right? Sometimes I think it's a sort of philosophical noodling, right? That God is omniscient and omnipotent and omnipresent, and our concern with these notions and ideas, it turns into a sort of logical puzzle, right? Like a little God Sudoku or crossword or something kind of puzzle with and work with. And it's not bad. It's not bad to explore these ideas about God, but I would argue that it isn't the most important thing for us to consider. I would agree with the way the confession puts it. God's relationship with us is more important than God's immutable qualities. Now, see, here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. God could totally beat Superman. I'm not trying to argue that. But let's talk about God in relationship first. There's this defining of a characteristic of Mennonites that speaks to this and how we understand God. It says that the best picture we have of God is Jesus. Right? Other people focus on other sections of the Bible, and we focus on Jesus. You can say that's right or wrong, but that's kind of where we land. The second paragraph of the article says it this way. It says, we believe that God has spoken above all in the only Son, the Word who became flesh and revealed the divine being and character. We understand God through the lens of Jesus. Everything else we know about God, the prophets, the creation narratives, the entire Hebrew Bible, the letters of Paul, they must be read through the lens of Jesus. Because this is the best picture we have of God, the most full understanding we have. And we'll still mess it up, but that's what we strive for. And here's the thing. Jesus wants a relationship with us. Right? I don't think that Jesus works in this fear-based way that we sometimes think about God. I don't think Jesus works as this person who desires to have power over everybody or control over everybody. When we look at the way he lives his life, it's not about that. You see, God doesn't work the way humans work. We love to have people have power over people, right? Or have the situation in control. Doesn't that feel really good? God doesn't speak down to us. God doesn't put us in our place. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I'm pushing too hard, but I don't think God is trying to scare people into silence. I don't think God will diminish our experiences just to lift God's self up. Now, don't get me wrong. God wants to help us and heal us and lift us up, right? It's not just the God of comfort. God doesn't let those with the loudest voices dominate those who are just trying to get through life, right? God turns over tables. and tells those in power that they will be the last to enter the kingdom. And he lifts up the voices of those who are pushed to the margins and tells them they will be the first. This is how God is in relationship with us. We see it modeled in Jesus' ministry, right? Calling out those in power and calling in those who've had their power taken away. Now, you see, humans, many of us, not everybody, so, I'm not trying to call you out, but try it on. We love control. We love power. It feels good. We like to know what's going on. So at some point, we can obsess over these powers of God, the omnipotence and omnipresence and omniscience, right? We make God in our own image. I think you've heard that idea before. We make God in our image because we know that if we could do anything and be anywhere and know everything, right, we would make everything just right.
Yeah.
Right? We would figure this all out. Come on. We would prioritize this power and control over relationship. In fact, many of us do, right? Real, authentic, and healthy relationships that God models for us, they often get lost in our desire to avoid conflict or to keep people in line. We want to manage all those unexpected variables, and relationship gets lost. You see, the love of God, it's this amazing thing. It heals us. It's more than just comfortable words that soothe us, right? It's words of true healing. And I believe, as I've done my work, as I've lived my life and tried to overcome things that have been part of my life that haven't been quite healthy, right? I believe that relationships that don't have space for discomfort, if there's not room for growing pains, they may not be so healthy. I hear this article making these 2 points. It says, God desires relationship with us. And God is amazing and otherwise beyond anything we could conceive of, and does these things way better than any of us could ever imagine. So the wisdom of God, right, that note number 2, it defines the relationship that God seeks. And I believe that when we lean into this deep, authentic relationship with God, it will make us uncomfortable. It will be uneasy. It will change our very core. You see, the love of God is a healthy love, right? And for me, as I look back, I've had my unhealthy loves. There's a couple girlfriends I really shouldn't have stayed with. You know what I'm saying? Just me? Okay. Healthy love, healthy relationship calls us into a deeper and more authentic way of being. Healthy love calls out the best in us. This article concludes with this recognition of God's love. I think it paints this beautiful, astounding picture, the last paragraph of the actual article. It says, God's awesome glory and enduring compassion are perfect in holy love. God's sovereign power and unending mercy are perfect in almighty love. God's knowledge of all things and care for creation are perfect in preserving love. God's abounding grace and wrath against sinfulness are perfect in righteous love. God's readiness to forgive and power to transform are perfect in redemptive love. God's unlimited justice and continuing patience with humankind are perfect in suffering love. God's infinite freedom and constant self-giving are perfect in faithful love. To the one holy and ever-loving triune God be glory forever and ever. This deep love of God has this deep dichotomy, right? Glory, compassion. Power and mercy. Grace and wrath. Forgiveness and transformation. Justice and patience. I don't think we can choose just one side of that equation and still be in that relationship that God calls us into. So may we seek this relationship God and with relationship that we see with God, and may we seek it with each other. May we step into a love that helps us all to grow together. May we develop this deep and complex love that forgives 70 times 7 times, but won't ignore the injustice that happens right next to us. Amen. Now have a time of quiet reflection, followed by a time of sharing.